Morning.
Good morning.
What does it take to fill your child's cup? To fully support them, fully encourage them, and fully have their back? Well, really, firstly, it takes for you to be able to do all those things for yourself so that you can give from a filled cup.
Yes, that's what it takes. So we're going to give you an example soon. What I want you to think about is if you've joined our group, the Awakened Parent Community, then I am sure that you are the kind of parent who is reading books about conscious parenting. You're reading books about gentle parenting. Maybe you're in lots of gentle parenting groups, and that's so wonderful. But maybe you're also recognizing, and that's you've really stepped far along the process, you might be starting to recognize that some of your behaviors seem to come out of nowhere, and they're not the kind of behaviors that you know are conducive to supporting your child. And Jo has a very good example of when she was a mum and having grown up in her family and all the things that happened to her as a child. There was things coming out in her parenting style that she was just totally, it's like, isn't this how you do it? Because that's what happened to her as a child. So can you show that example, Jo, of what happened when you were parenting sometimes, not all the time?
But,
yeah.
I feel some tears coming up on this one.
Yeah.
So I have 3 children, and one of my ways to deal with challenges, to deal with their big emotions, was to send them away from me, to send them to their rooms, like their individual rooms by themselves, to deal with their big emotions, which is totally not, they're not able to do at certain ages. Their brain hasn't developed enough to do such things. And so it's difficult because it was such a big one for me to recognise when I was doing it. Basically abandoning them with their big emotions, not being able to support them through their emotions.
And it really is such a huge thing to become an awakened parent. Like we throw these terms around. Awakened, acknowledge your emotions, validate who you are in the moment. We throw all these kinds of terms around. And this morning we really want to deep dive into just how much, the onion layers, the really kind of step-by-step process to what was happening there with Jo. Because back then, were you really that conscious of what you were doing?
Oh, no, not at all. I didn't come to this work till much later, when my kids were teenagers. So, no, I think I'm doing all right. And I'm...
Yeah, you're doing what was done to you. And Jo and I were talking about even this concept this morning. It's massive to recognise that you are actually doing the same thing that, your parents may not have been that good, because they weren't either. And we're never ever about blaming parents in this group, of course. Our parents were doing what was done to them. So these are generational patterns that have been passed down the line. And often, and nearly everybody I've ever spoken to, pretty well 100% actually, will recognise that the grandparents' life, the boys especially, seen and not heard, the belt was a common, physical punishment was very common in the days of our grandparents. So the world is evolving, but yeah, it was done to them, and it was done to them usually much worse. So Jo just got given what her parents knew how to give, like all of us. My parents exactly the same. So then, that's you. That's you as an adult, still using those same coping skills.
Yeah.
So can you speak a bit about how, you didn't know?
No, I didn't know. I thought I was doing I thought I was doing parenting well, actually. I thought I was doing far better than my parents did, and that I was doing pretty good. But later, through doing the work, when I recognised that, like, have you ever had someone say to you, "Oh, you're just like your mum," or "You're just like your dad"? And for some of you, that sentence you may have been able to draw instantly on the good stuff, but for me it was like, no, I'm not. Rubbish. You've got to be kidding. I'm nothing like them. But of course, when we're unaware and when we don't know, we just recreate these things again. And later, the deep realization came for me that I was just recreating this. But then you know what kicks in? Guilt kicks in. It's like, oh my God, and tears, and like facing that I'm recreating the very thing that I didn't want to. That was most difficult for me to be on the receiving end of.
Yeah, that's it. And yeah, I totally did similar things with my children too, you know, like sometimes breaking into being the yelling, angry, rageful parent at the drop of a hat, explosive, and just not knowing where that even came from. So it was thanks to being able to reach out and get support and be able to work through some of these patterns, some of these programs, some of these coping skills. And again, we're kind of, there's so many steps in this. When Joe and I were preparing for this morning, we're just thinking, like, we so often just talk about these things like they're, I don't know, it's like, and there is an ease when you get support, but it's really is a process. So we wanted to go through, using Joe's example, what the steps to really getting support for yourself so that you can really start to fill your cup. And what we have done ourselves, what I had to do for myself, and what Joe's done for herself, and I've been doing this work for, you know, we've both been doing it for over 20 years, really. Started to seek. Seeking is the first step. Seeking is all about, you know, yes, reading the books, knowing that there's things out there like gentle parenting, like attachment parenting, there's new ways of understanding the world that are really very, very counter to the culture. Like that you shouldn't smack a child. I mean, most of us now feel like that's a pretty normal one. But you go back 50 years and that was fairly new to the minds of people, to the consciousnesses of people. So the people, if you're in this group, you are a trailblazer. You are a leader. You are someone who is willing to step outside the box and think differently and seek different information. And this in itself is something you have to have support for. If you're not, you know that expression, you are the 5 people that you hang around the most. So that is so true. Like, that's been so true for you in your journey, hasn't it, Joe?
Well, when I first sought information and joining groups, there were books and there was listening to YouTube videos and TED Talks and people who had been where I was, people who were parents who were looking at this different way of doing things, different way of living, and recognising that we're recreating our programs. And the first group I joined was an American group, and the reason for that was because I felt safer that they were in a different country and I wouldn't actually physically run into anybody. I was so scared to be myself in front of people and to fess up to my behaviour, to fess up that, like, I'm recognising that I abandoned my kids when they most needed me emotionally and physically.
But you had abandoned yourself long ago.
Yes.
Probably at 3 years of age.
Yes.
You started, really abandoning yourself to have cope. And this is what we all do. We all do this. We develop coping skills that keep us in alignment with our families. And that is how we survive childhood. It is not wrong. It is successful. That's the other thing we were talking about. That's in one of our steps. Is like we feel like it's wrong. We feel like when we get to this point in our lives, oh my God, I did it all wrong. No. Yeah. You were surviving your childhood. From 3 years of age, some of us had to develop some massive coping skills. Some of us had some really scary stuff going on. Some of us experienced sexual abuse. Some of us experienced people yelling at us. Some of us have high scores on that ACE study, which means we had people, who criticised us or yelled at us or were angry at us. And again, you go back 50 years, they go, oh, that's all right, you'll be fine. So there's still a cultural catching up to do. So if you're in this group, you seriously, Joe and I, we were in tears all the time, honouring the people in this group, and especially the women that come along every week and are vulnerable and have the courage to, and it is fun to let your stuff go. If you're in this group, and hi Kristen, if you're here and you're watching and that we do have fun letting it go, because it's not real, it's over, the past is over. And we also know, this is what I'm saying here, it was successful as a child. Everything you did was about surviving childhood.
And when you get to this point and you recognise the behaviours that you're not comfortable with and you want to change, this is a moment of being absolutely kind to yourself.
Yes. And some of us don't know how to do that. I did not know how to be kind to myself. I remember when the practitioners first started going, come on, Ilka, how do you want your life to be? That was one of the questions. And I'm just looking at them going, what do you mean? Like our way of surviving the world is so familiar to us. And for me, one of my most major coping skills was to disassociate, to just go numb, to not feel at all. I'll never forget it. She's going to me, it starts with S and it's all la. And I'm like, nah, still not getting it. I mean, it seems funny now because and all the ladies that I work with will know we talk about self-love all the time. And even when she said it, the word seemed empty to me. What the hell is love? Like, what the hell? We only know the version of love that we've experienced and what we've been coping with. And Joe and I just recognised this morning that I actually spent 20 years also working with my mother and father. So I was enmeshed in the family dynamics for a very long time. And Joe, you spent spent a lot of time too. So sometimes which we now see as a blessing and as a good thing in our lives, but because it was just, everything works out the way it's supposed to be. But if you're lucky enough to kind of get away from your parents and start doing this work earlier and finding people around you, finding a tribe of people around you who can really assist you in changing and supporting you in more serving ways of life where people are really on the same page as you. And I was very lucky too to have a lot of my family very much, even my dad. He was very supportive of these new ways of being, like doing unschooling and all sorts of things. So it's a really mixed bag.
And when we talk about familiarity and us recreating the familiarity of the past, that is like doing love. Like when I'm sending my children away from me to deal with their emotions, to me, that's like, in that moment, I'm doing the best thing for them.
Yeah, do you mind talking about, you said about when your son said something to you and your first reaction?
Oh, just recently. He's in his early 20s and he came to me with an idea about something he wanted to do for the future. And normally I would respond with like kindness and questions and, oh, that's awesome, tell me more. But in this moment, I think I was rushed, and I reacted immediately like I would have in the past.
And like your parents probably would have reacted to you.
Yeah, not supportive of my idea, but how are you going to do that? Like straight into the fix-it solutions. What would the steps be? Not honouring what he has just chosen to share with me about something important about his future. But what was really, really funny was a couple of seconds after I'd said it, I recognised what I did, and I went, "Oh, hang on, no, I didn't mean to say that. Sorry, can you ask me that question again so I can respond differently?" And he said, "No, I'm not asking you again. Just learn from that and make it different in future." And we both had a laugh about that. I thought, how brilliant. That would have gone very, very, very differently in the past.
Yes. Yeah, that is a very cool thing about having done the work on yourself, because when we were talking about that this morning, I said to Joe, we've really got to slow this movie right down, this movie of what just happened in that moment, because when we say everything is about survival, I mean it. I really do mean it. And your parents, and as all the ladies learn on the calls, when we really step into our parents, and we have a technique called trading places, where you step into the other person. And if you'd stepped into Joe in that moment and you really slowed it down, what had just come up for her was fear and protect, that kind of, I want to protect my son, and I want to make sure that he's okay.
Protect him from feeling bad about not being able to achieve this thing in future.
Yeah, and as much as it seems amazing that the mind can operate this quickly, it can. It's had millions and millions and millions of connections made over your 30 to 60 years of life, 70 years of life, and it can go there so fast. And it can find all the times that you were embarrassed, and all the times that you felt shame, and all the times that you were humiliated. And that's what you respond to to your kids.
That's what I'm protecting him from.
Yes.
In those split seconds.
Yeah, and so then it comes out of your mouth in those split seconds like almost an accusation or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's not, it's coming from love, actually, but it's just coming from a fear-based love. And a shame-based love, like a love of protection, and I'm going to try and help you survive this cruel world out there. So it has to come from believing that the world is cruel as well. It has to come from all sorts of different belief systems that are usually not conducive to having a joyful and, happy and connected and it's amazing life.
Yeah, and it's these little things that are the big things, really. Those responses in that, that whole thing would have taken 10 minutes.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's those moments where by doing this work, we can change our behaviour, change our automatic responses.
Yes, and I know seeing Kristen here, we get parents posting in our group of those changes that they've made. And yes, they, like Joe says, they seem like little things. We go, yes! We go, yay! We know how big it is to make that change. I was saying to Joe this morning about how I used to, seriously, this is how bad I was. If I was talking to my husband and I was in one of those moods and I'd woken up, and I'm talking to him and he just picks his arm up to look at his watch. I'm out of the bed, I'm slamming the door, I'm walking down the road. I had some massive, big anger reactions to tiny, tiny little things. And then I wonder why he's going,
what's going on here?
She's a crazy woman.
Yeah.
She's a crazy woman. But I talked to somebody in our group this week, there is no such thing as overreacting. Now, that's another big one to get. Really? Really? That is huge in our culture. We think that people overreact. We have things like drama queens. We have all this stuff around emotional intelligence. And basically, really, in the past 100 years, emotional intelligence means you don't show your emotions to anybody. You know, and it's not...
Suppress.
Yeah, and you see a child having a tantrum in the supermarket, and most people just want to walk straight around them. They don't want to stay there. They you know, I know these days there's lots of mums. It's beautiful to see lots of mums that are encouraging each other. But, you know, go back 100 years, if something was happening like that, you know, people would be looking down their noses at you. It's like, why do you even have this child out in the supermarket?
Yes.
You know, what the hell are you doing? So it is really, like, we really do celebrate what we call, they're the big wins. They're really big wins. When you change a behaviour that you have been doing for, you know, 30, 40, in my case, 42 years, I was doing some of these ridiculous, they're not ridiculous, they were just my coping skills. But see, I'm still calling them ridiculous. Tap on that. So I'm letting that go. I really just did the best I could. I really did. Joe did too. We're doing the best we can in the moment. This is what we know how to do. This is how we know how to protect ourselves. So, so we really wanted to talk this morning about how you go about getting support. Like once you start to recognize, oh my God, can I really change this? Like, is it actually really possible to change this? What happens then?
No, knowing that it can, this is where we sometimes skip over, like, things that we say that seem easy, like knowing that you can get support to change rather than believing this is just me. Yeah. This is the way I am. It is what it is.
Yeah.
I can't change my behaviour.
Yeah.
That is not true.
Yeah, it's not true.
You can change your subconscious programming, and you can change the automatic responses, and you can change the way you live your life.
You can. And again, if you want to get support and come into our community of people who do our course, where we kind of deep dive a lot more and we share a lot of the stuff that doesn't get shared in this group, where we kind of keep it more generalized. But the mums are posting things all the time. So you're going to see how it's possible to change. They share these wins with us. And so you could go through all of our feed and see what amazing changes that people make.
There are some stories
so cool.
in this group, because we do have the other course group, but in this group, if you search hashtag testimonials, you'll see video of the mums talking about their experiences and changing their behaviour. So, but I think when I first came to this work, that was one thing that was in my mind was like, I've seen it now, I've recognised my behaviour and I want to change it, but I don't believe I can. And I've come to the awareness and I've seen myself recreate the same behaviour again, even after going, well, I want to change it. I don't really believe that I can. So knowing that it is possible.
Yeah. And that's another reason we really want to talk about support and what support means, and that support is an ongoing thing for me. It's about hanging out with people who really are deeply caring about the same things that you care about. And having a deep, intimate relationship with those people, getting more and more of those people, really building that community. And that's what we really want to build here. And Joe and I also, we're really dedicated and committed to, like if you're going to the gym, it's such a brilliant analogy, because everybody knows that now. Everybody knows that if you're a little bit out of shape, right, if you've been kind of having these habits of whatever you're doing around your body, it can take a year or two to get you back into the habit. And the problem with gyms is that they are only addressing the physical, and the emotional stuff actually comes first. If you don't address the emotional stuff and the thoughts, and you address what's going on in here, then this is why people sign up for the gym in February, and then they don't go. But why we like the gym analogy though is everybody gets it. Everybody gets that it takes time, and we all know that. It's like, I was a personal trainer in my 40s, and
there could be why we sign up for the gym maybe in January and then it doesn't continue. Like, there could be an underlying program that kept you in alignment with one of your family members, one of your parents, by eating with them, eating the sorts of foods they baked for you, or
eat everything on your plate.
Yeah,
starving children in Africa.
Or that's
guilt.
A good one. Yeah, guilt, shame.
Yeah.
Spending most of their spare time sitting and watching movies or doing not very energetic behaviours. So to address that can help us with gym memberships, but it is a lot about what the underlying program and belief systems are.
Yes. But we do all know that the people who spend the most time at the gym and go there religiously and do 3 times a week or whatever, and do a really healthy eating plan, it's such a great analogy, because you see, our gym instructor Dion, he's in this group. He's an amazing guy. He started doing gymnastics when he was younger, so he has an amazing program already installed, and his body is, incredible. But he works at that. And, if we can see how you need to do that for the body, I'm telling you guys, you've got to do it for up here as well. And we really want to build a culture and a community of coming every month and working on yourself. We want to make it affordable. We want to make it just like a gym membership. It's affordable. It's so valuable, because how valuable is it to stop that behaviour of not, I don't slam doors anymore on my husband. Fuck, we could stay married for another 20 years. Like, how amazing is that? Like, is that valuable? It's fucking valuable. Like, it's just, it's just not so valued by the mainstream culture yet. But we're getting there, and thank you everybody in this group for being an early adopter, for being a leader, for being somebody who recognises that emotional intelligence is the next thing on the list of things that our culture has to actually address if it's going to move beyond the stage of consciousness that it's at now. So thank you for being here.
And it's the foundation for an amazing life. And when you first come to the work, like I came, when I recognised the behaviours with my children that I wanted to change, and how closed off and suppressed I was to my own emotions, but then to work through that area, then life opens up to what's possible, what's out there, what can I look forward to now, and then recognise things that I may want to do with my life, notice the resistance to them that exist based on a limiting belief from my past, and work through that limiting belief and then step into it. It's like my comfort zone used to be here. Now my comfort zone's here. It expands.
Yes, and that's why the gym analogy is so brilliant as well, because, you see someone go from someone who's little bit unfit and overweight and all of that, and they start becoming a CrossFit champion, for example. These are the ends of the spectrum. Well, they have to keep doing it. You can't. This is the same with your brain, but you keep getting to new levels of awareness and new, deeper insights. Like Joe and I were saying, you get to a point, and this may seem just so out of reach for you right now, but I'm going to say it. You get to a point where I'm just in awe of how amazing all the hurt and all the pain that I experienced, mostly with my father, has been beneficial to my life. It allows me to connect with people on a very deep level. His depression, his pain, his struggles, his stress, they are all places now that I'm not in there anymore with him. But when people come to me with that, and I've moved through it all, but when they come there, I get it. I've seen it. I know what it's like to live with somebody like that. And I'm grateful that for whatever reason, here we are on planet Earth at the moment, the next biggest step is to change the emotional stuff. And I recognized that from a very young age with my father. Like 3 years of age, I started recognizing that he had some serious issues going on with his emotions. You know, he's holding on to them, he's letting them go on me, he's doing all this stuff, he's taking lots of antidepressants, he's taking lots of alcohol, he's smoking cigarettes like they're going out of fashion, he's suppressing, he's avoiding, and yet it's so beautiful that I get to this point in my life when someone's sitting in front of me and I know the pain of it. I see it and I know what it was like to go through that and some of the things that got inflicted on me because of all of his stress. And I know Joe has experienced that too. So, and I say this to some of the ladies that come on the call and they go, oh, Ilka, that's a big one. It's a big one to think that our pain and our all the things we experienced as children, which were like often so much shame, so much, you know, and I've cried buckets and buckets of tears to get out the other side of all of that pain. But they connect me to life now on such a deep level. It's so incredible. Like every day, my life is just so amazing and rich and deep. I mean, this week last week I was involved in a home birth. I was zoomed into a home birth. You know, and my life is so freaking amazing. But it is a lot thanks to the things that I went through with my mum and dad. And you will get to that point. It may seem now like that's like oh, come on, Ilka and Joe. What the are you talking about there? But you do, don't you, Joe?
Oh, you absolutely do. It's like the joy of a young child.
Yes.
Before they have been conditioned and programmed and they're just free of mind and just watch a child. Not only when they're in joy, but watch how quickly they can move through emotions such as sadness, anger, etc. when we can be present with them.
Yeah.
They move through them very quickly, and that's what we can do. Like, we still have emotion. It's not like we don't feel. It's just that not just actually. It's glorious for me to be able to accept my emotions. Just prior to coming live here today, we're talking about the subject, and I was crying, and said to Ilka, doesn't matter if I cry while we go live anyway. And for me, that is a huge step forward to be able to show emotion.
Yeah, it is. It's massive. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah, and to move through it quickly.
Yeah.
Recognise it, accept it, and move through it.
Yeah. I'm actually keeping my trains of thought this morning. It's amazing. Okay, so then the thing is, Joe's talking about children have the joy and that, but then when you've gone through the experience of being a child and doing the inner work and coming out on the other side, you also have the wisdom of those experiences. And that's what I'm talking about before. So you can have joy and wisdom. And yes, there are painful things that still come up. Things happen in life that, you know, people, shit happens, as they say. But your way of getting through that once you've healed the childhood wounding is so much easier. Like just so much, you will really breeze through it, and you will have the tools to do it. And in this group and anywhere, we encourage you to get support wherever it resonates for you. But we're here to provide support for you on an ongoing basis. So month by month, most of the ladies come back week by week. They keep doing the work. It's just like a gym membership. It's no different. And to me, it's the best thing that you could ever spend your money on.
And support is like where you come to move through challenges. It's not about where you come to be heard when you're blaming other people or to gossip. Yes, we can bring the story that is challenging us right now, but we move through the story. We make the story about what's going on inside of us.
Yep.
Rather than about what other people are doing to us and coming from that is a very powerless position But bring the story, yes, but recognize the emotions that are attached to it, the links to the past, and move through that and find this new wisdom from each and every time you do that.
Yeah, and each experience, I mean, how amazing is this? Each experience in your life has brought you a hell of a lot of wisdom, like lots, loads and loads, and it will be with you on your journey forward. And that's how you get to be the wise woman. If you're a woman in this group, you become the wise woman. And what a wonderful way to spend your 90s and your 100s, like being the one that has the wisdom for others, because she's not still trapped in all of her childhood muck. And you know, Joe and I, we don't take, you know, medication. We don't, you know, we have a pretty amazing life because of the work that we've done on ourselves. And I know this is true for all the women that are coming into our group. Like, they really have, you know, changed so much of their life, and so many of the coping skills they used in their 20s, in their 30s, have fallen away because they found this inner work and knowing that the answers are all inside of them. And like, they are an amazing group of women. You will be in the most amazing company if you decide to get support from us. And yeah, and if you're in our group and you're watching this video, then please put a like on the video to encourage other people to see it. And yeah, we love Kristen. Hello again.
Yeah, and we'll be sharing these on our YouTube channel, Instagram, and our Facebook business page.
Yes.
So if you know anyone who may benefit from our information, please share this with them, because it is relatively new, and in the beginning it can be very, very challenging.
Yeah, very challenging, and we understand that. So we really want to be there for people. There's many tools and resources in there. So, you know, I've been doing tapping work with people for over 8 years now. No, just nearly 8 years, sorry, nearly 8 years. So I'm super, we're both extremely super passionate, if you haven't worked that out yet, about this change work. This is what we're here for. So yeah, we'd love you to explore this group, watch some of the interviews, go into the file section, really get to know, you know, the people in this group. Come along to our tapping
Thursday night,
our free tapping
sessions,
free tap
30 minutes.
Yes, to go to the event section. You can go in there and like start learning a little bit about tapping and the change process. It's a very generalized process, that one, but it's an awesome way to just get a little introduction into it. And you can watch it live on Facebook, or if you want to, you can come into the Zoom room as well through the event page. So yeah. Yay!
Awesome.
So cool.
Thank you for being here with us.
Yeah,
Thank
and then the part of this is the coming all the way full circle, all the way round, and we've shared stories of how this is possible, even with your 20-year-old children. You know, that once you start to fill your own cup, you will see the benefits with your own kids very quickly. You know, things that they will start to realize that you don't get triggered so much by things, that you're able to stand in your power, and that there is a massive shift that happens around that. You can be there for them. You can, you know, be there in their big emotions, things like that. And that is absolutely wonderful thing to be able to
hear
do.
them. Hear them. Do you want
support them?
Do you want your adult children to share their lives with you?
Yes, yes. And that's exactly what happens when you're able to be, you know, really full in yourself, full in your own cup, because you're not looking for anything outside of yourself. It's you're already whole, you're already complete. And yes, you're doing the work on yourself. That's an ongoing process, but you're living in what we call the upper model of the world, where, you know, every time something happens, you're working through it. You've got support around you to work through things, which is so important. So stay with us here, and yeah, we hope to see you in our course that starts September. When was it? Mid-September.
Mid-September. Yes.
Yeah, and we've got courses starting all the way through the year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yay!
Thanks for being here with us and
Thank you.
choosing to do life differently.
Yes, thank you so much.
See you next
Thank you.
Wednesday.
Yep. Bye.